working with him. Treasurer, right? We got an air conditioning. Dusty.
It's like a small enough room that shouldn't be needed to get everyone's attention. Yeah.
Hartsville Metro Planning Commission, excuse me, will come to order. And I guess I'll do the duty of calling the roll tonight. Mr. Harper. Here. Mr. Swafford. Ms. Keisling. Mr. Kerr.
Here.
Mr. Nallner.
Here.
Mayor Chambers.
Here.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
And Mr. Foster.
Here.
Okay, minutes from our meeting. Members present: Rod Bowen, Thomas Harper, Mark Swafford, Ron Keisling, John Kerr, David Nallner, Mayor Chambers, Dave Thomas, Scott Smith, member absent, James Foster. Minutes from the previous meeting approved with no changes. Motion to approve by Mr. Nallner, second by Mr. Kerr. Minutes were approved. Old business. The building inspector informed the planners that the county commission has rejected the resolution concerning buffering. Mr. Edwards stated that the amendment is written correctly and needs no further review. Mr. Nallner made a motion to resubmit with no changes. Second by Mr. Kerr. Motion passed 8-0. Now that after the meeting, we found out that Mr. Edwards had gotten some incorrect information on that, and that had, in fact, the buffering had attached to us. Is that correct? So that's one change that we make to that little business. Under new business, Mr. Zavad was an applicant requesting favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission to rezone approximately 5.15 acres on Highway 25 West from its current zoning designation of C2 to C1 to allow more options for this property that has some topographic challenges. After discussion from planners on uses in C2 versus C1 and with a recommendation to approve by Ms. Turner of GNRC, a motion was made by Mr. Thomas and seconded by Mr. Kerr to send this request to the county commission on favorable recommendation. Motion passed. Under the planning commission secretary, discussion from planners concerning permanent arrangement for secretarial duties. Ms. Keisling agreed to continue to sign plats as secretary. Another planner can take care of the regular meeting minutes. Ms. Turner read the bylaws concerning changes to the current protocol as it relates to the secretarial duties. No action was taken. Since then, the mayor has researched this a little bit, and if I understand this, Mayor, we can make a change to our bylaws that will include basically two different people covering the secretarial duties. We just have to give everyone written notice ahead of the next meeting. Correct?
Yes, sir. I believe it's 3 days written notice of the proposed change to the bylaws, and then it can be voted on at the next meeting. I will also point out, if it's an issue with changing the secretary, according to the bylaws, you're supposed to have a vote for your officers again in August. So if there's wanting to be a change in the secretarial position, you can just wait till next month and change that person. And they're supposed to serve 1-year term, so every August you're supposed to revote for your officers.
Okay. So tonight, do we have a secretary in mind?
For permanent?
Pardon me?
For permanent?
No, for taking the necessary information.
Yeah. The bylaws state that in the absence of the secretary, the chair can appoint someone to serve as a secretary for that particular meeting.
Oh, all right, thank you, Mr. Kerr. Have you got what you need?
I got a finger.
You got a pen?
Nope.
No pen?
Don't even want to be secretary.
You got a pen. I'd say you have the qualifications.
I can see this, fogging up my glasses.
We had no reports or closing remarks. Meeting was adjourned on a motion by Mr. Muller at 7:54 p.m. Submitted by myself. Any questions or other corrections concerning the minutes? Yes, sir.
Make a motion to approve.
Thanks, sir. Second by Mr. Smith. Is that true, Mr. Smith?
Right here.
Second, okay. All these masks, it's like, you know, a room full of ventriloquists or something.
Just out through my voice over there.
What'd you say, Mr. Smith? Okay, so, second by Mr. Thomas. All right. If there's no other discussion, all then in favor of approving the minutes as read with the changes we discussed, say aye. Opposed? The motion was made by Mr. Muller, second by Mr. And the motion passed. Harper, Mr. Harper. It was, I'm sorry. Your first name was Thomas.
My first name.
That's what happens when you get old. Mr. Harper was the second. Mr. Muller.
I want to make sure to give him credit.
That's right. That's right. Okay, now we have a few things on the agenda tonight. We have a couple of rezone requests and like that. We're going to start out with the Verizon Site plan. That just was at the BZA. I assume that it's made it on to us. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it did. It was approved.
And what we're looking for this evening from the Planning Commission is site plan approval for this Verizon tower located on Highway 10. Mary, your thoughts on this?
Sure, and I will also, I just want to mention to you all, so we know, the building official, Sam Edwards, is on the phone as well to answer questions this week. He had to go be COVID tested this past weekend, so he's not in, but he's on our phone to answer questions that you might have. So, as mentioned, the Board of Zoning Appeals reviewed the request for a special exception for the use for this site, so the use has been approved as stands. There's a number, also, if you can't hear me at any point through the mask, let me know. There's a number of requirements in the ordinance 417G that need to be met for cell tower facility to be approved. There are a couple items that I will touch on. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's about 17 requirements. The first, I just want to touch on the tower collapse radius. The way the ordinance reads is it says there shall be sufficient radius of unimproved land around the tower to ensure its collapse will be contained within the unoccupied area. The area is determined by measuring the proposed height of the tower and adding any additional height required to accommodate antennas and other appurtenances. The applicant has submitted a letter to talk about the fall zone. This proposed tower is 245 feet tall. The fall zone engineered for it is 50. The proposed lease space is 100 by 100, so it has the 50-foot radius based on that proposed fall zone. I just want to bring it all to attention, just because the letter of the code is a little bit iffy on that as far as calling out the radius as the height of the tower, whereas now the towers are engineered to have a fall zone that meets that requirement. A few additional details.
Did you have a list of the things that they had, that they need to put on, that they had?
I do, yes, and I just want to go down to the beginning and see which ones were handled at the. Haven't met a couple of the site plan requirements they needed to show that A1 zoning setbacks need to be shown for the site. He has updated the copy of that to show the setbacks, and those aren't met. That was discussed with the Board of Zoning Appeals. The existing utilities need to be shown, is what I had noted in the staff report. During the Board of Zoning Appeals, it was mentioned that there's no existing utilities that are noted on the site that'll be interfered with. There's a couple items that needed to be concerned. Just share it on the site plan, and those can be cleared up following this meeting. Listing surrounding property owners' names, putting those setbacks on if they're in practice existing utilities I touched on. There's a few other items.
BZA add anything to them as far as additional?
No, sir. Yeah, I'm just gonna go through and touch on these quick. Lot area, there's a requirement about the lot needs to be not more than 4 times the width of the lot, and that is met. The main maneuvering space for the vehicle, there's a 30-foot access easement that's provided from Highway 10, and a 12-foot gravel drive that's provided to the site, and a 30 by 60-foot vehicle parking and turning area. There was some concern about whether that space is going to be sufficient for a fire truck turning radius if needed. I reached out to the fire department and are waiting for comment to be returned on that. But that appendix hasn't been adopted, so that's not necessarily enforceable, but just checking on that. There is requirements for gate and fencing. The fencing requirements are met, and the applicant has indicated, since this was sent out, that the gate will be closed at all times, and which would applicable state requirements for that gate. The applicant has indicated that all the maintenance requirements will be met as far as tree trimming and maintaining the site. Landscaping that's required for the site, the applicant is required to provide shrubs surrounding the site that are between 2 and 8 feet in height. For the landscaping plan, the applicant is providing American holly trees that will be 4 to 5 feet tall surrounding the exterior of the fence. The structure materials, will all be, the tower is galvanized steel, and then there's no additional building or structures on the site other than the boxes. Words not coming to the top of my head, but they're gonna match. So there's no storage buildings on site is what I'm getting at on there. Then for lighting, the applicants indicated the lighting that will be on the tower is meeting required FAA standards for the lighting. The need for the tower needs to be shown for the requirements, and they're showing the need by demonstrating that there's no other towers that can co-locate on within a half-mile radius. Is what they meant for that. And I don't have any additional comments that I wanted to bring forward, but if anyone has any questions on the requirements that they need to meet, I have those all detailed as well. To them.
Mr. Jewell, sir?
Appendix B is not adopted because that's an optional appendix to the fire code put in there for jurisdictions that have large fire equipment such as ladder trucks, long ladder trucks, which we do not have. That's why it was not adopted. It really didn't apply to it. The main body of the code was address things, the turning radius for bumper trucks and the type of equipment we have. So that should not be an issue.
Do you have a recommendation concerning this request? What are the changes?
Yeah, so based on the changes that were discussed, everything else should be set to meet, considering that the setbacks have been shown now, the existing utilities have been clarified. So just with adding surrounding property owners' names to the site plan to check those.
Surrounding properties, those names?
Yes, that was just the site plan detail that wasn't on there. So based on that and the approval of the use for the Board of Zoning Appeals, staff sees no issue.
That's been ordered today.
Yep.
Any questions concerning this request then? Yes, sir.
Make a motion to approve with the changes.
Thanks, sir. We have a motion by Mr. Palmer that we approve this site plan contingent upon the additional changes brought forth by Ms. Thomas. Second by Mr. Thomas. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving this site plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All set. Is there anything else that we need from them there?
Not right now.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Keisling, is Mr. Keisling here? There's a couple of Mr. Keislings up there, right?
All done, so.
Ethan, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're wanting to do out there?
Yeah, we're just, of course, we're wanting to just cut an acre off, one side of his, so me and my wife can build a house. We're not going to do nothing crazy, and he just doesn't want to give up more than that at the moment. I don't blame him. We're not going to try to subdivide it or anything like that. We just want
Minimum 3 acres in agricultural. You guys are looking to get a favorable recommendation from us and change your current zoning designation of agriculture to rural.
Just for the one, just for the one.
Yes, yeah, you're just for the one lot, not, you don't want the whole property.
So the applicant is requesting rezoning from A1 agriculture forestry to R1 residential for the property identified as Trousdale County Tax Map 6, Parcel 7.12 at 910 Honeysuckle Lane Road. The property as a whole consists of about 20 acres. However, the rezoning request is just for 1 acre area on the northeast corner of the property on the south side of Honeysuckle Lane. A survey or legal description hasn't been provided to me yet. I would say that it would be ideal to have that, and before it gets to the county commission level, they have to provide a legal description or a survey to clarify the exact area to be rezoned. The property is located on the northwest side of Trousdale County. The surrounding properties are zoned A1 agriculture and forestry. There are a few properties zoned R1 residential along Browning Branch Road, about 5 parcels away. The property is not in a special flood area. It does not have any significant slopes. The nearest water lines are 4-inch water line on Honeysuckle Lane and a 6-inch water line also on Honeysuckle at the intersection with Hawkins Branch. The 6-inch water line has a hydrant, and in speaking with the water department, they do currently serve 910 Honeysuckle Lane. Per the growth plan, this property is outside the Hartsville Urban Services District growth boundary and is integrated as a rural area. The plan states that rural areas are not prevented from being used as commercial, residential, or industrial development. However, any such use should be less dense and should retain the character of the area. Low to moderate density is allowed in these areas. Honeysuckle Lane is called out as a collector in the Trousdale thoroughfare, Hartsville Trousdale major thoroughfare plan. I'm going to go over real quick the language behind each of these zoning districts. The A1 zoning district, which is the current zoning district of the property, the primary intent of that district is to minimize conflict between agricultural and forestry activities and various non-farm activities, to permit lands best suited for intense agricultural uses to be reserved for these shaded purposes, and to prevent lands unsuitable for development of an urban or non-rural nature due to topographic problems, locations, or the inability to provide necessary urban services. Areas assigned to the A1 district are primarily areas where growth of urban or non-rural nature is deemed undesirable. For the R1 zoning district, which is what the applicant is requesting to go to, this zoning district is intended to be utilized in areas where due to remoteness, the absence of necessary urban services, or the continuation of farming or agricultural activities, development of a suburban density is undesirable or unfeasible. These districts are therefore designed to provide suitable areas for low-density residential development characterized by an open appearance. Most generally, the developments will consist of single-family detached dwellings and accessory structures, but the district can also include community facilities and other uses which will serve that area. The uses permitted in the R1 zoning district by right include single-family and duplex dwellings and essential services. And the bulk zoning district standards require that lots without sanitary sewer service are at least 1 acre. So the proposed rezoning area can support the development of 1 lot with the absence of wastewater facilities under the R1 zoning district. In staff's rendering of the applicant's request, the applicant should provide a survey or a legal description to clarify the exact area to be included in the zoning request. As I mentioned, that would be required moving forward. This property is consistent with the R1 zoning description, and the R1 zoning would be consistent with the land use plan in this area. The water department currently serves this address. Staff is concerned a little bit about the potential development of residential ways on collector roads. However, there does appear to be an existing driveway adjacent to this property,
very much. And we have a letter on file from Tony, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. But make sure we don't rezone any property that the owner doesn't want us to, you know?
Well, I'm only rezoned, I'm trying to get my kids. Yeah, just take one moment. Actually, it's on water. Well, it's not got water, but we need water. I was gonna say. I don't know.
Okay, so we've seen these requests before, as far as cut off an acre for their son, over more restrictive zoning and like that. So, are there any other questions for either Ethan or Tony, or any other discussion concerning this request for us to send this on to the county commission with a favorable recommendation? Yes, sir.
Motion to approve it, with the changes, drawing, they're gonna get, whatever, the changes
Okay.
you said.
Okay.
I couldn't understand all of it, but.
They'll need, yeah, so by second reading, they'll need a survey or a legal description to show the exact area that's going to be rezoned, so there's no
Yeah,
question.
yes, sir.
Surveyors are at least a good month out, and then my second week to report.
So, yeah, so you could also provide a legal description, you know, they'll let you know exactly what's gonna be required for the ordinance to be written for the rezoning.
We might, the departments might be able to give you something to get, so that.
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks out. And I was just, I was asked about this last week. That's my time.
Only last,
Well, that is one of the things that they'll require at the time that they actually, they're the ones that actually can change it from the current zoning designation. Now, this is just a recommending body on this particular type of business. And so, at this point in time, we'll be happy to recommend it, based on the vote. And then that's probably something that you'll have to take up either at the building inspector's office. Yeah, the timeline. We're all suffering a little bit because of things. I wish I had a better answer for you than that. Anyway, we have a motion by Mr. Muller. We have a second by Mr. Harper that we send this on to the county commission, this request for rezone with a favorable recommendation. Is there any other discussion, any other questions? If not, all those then in favor of sending this on with a favorable recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Ethan.
Yeah.
You bet. Just, our building inspector's in the telephone there. Right, Sam? So, Ethan can come in and discuss with you as far as legal descriptions and what he might need to have before his second reading at the county commission. Is that true? There we go.
And I've also showed him where we're going to cut all the road, it's right up from
There's plenty of road frontage, plenty of ways to get in and out of the property. That's,
It's actually got an existing driveway coming from the property.
we all get to go fishing in the pond, right?
That's it.
Isn't that right there about where the big lake is?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so you guys are all set?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Get with these guys and they'll be able to tell you exactly the next meeting and time. Okay, Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry's here. He has a lot located on Highway 25 West. The lot's currently R1, but he's requesting approval to rezone the lot to R2 for a more dense application. Water Department's confirmed that adequate sewer and water are in place for this more dense residential designation. Ms. Turner, have you had a chance to look at this one?
so, as mentioned, the applicant is requesting rezoning from R1 residential to R2 residential for this property on Highway 25 West. The property consists of approximately 13.6 acres and is located on the south side of Highway 25 West, west of the intersection with Sulphur College Road. The property is adjacent to the Hartsville Urban Services District and is around 2 miles from downtown Hartsville on Highway 25. The properties to the north, on the south, on the opposite side of Highway 25 West are zoned R2 not identified as having any significant steep slopes. There is a 6-inch water line in this area along Highway 25 West. There is an existing sewer line as well, and per the building official's report, the water department has confirmed that sewer and water surface are adequate to serve R2 development of this property if development occurs. The growth plan identifies the subject property as within the Hartsville urban growth boundary. The urban growth boundary is identified as the Hartsville municipal area and contiguous territory where high-density residential, commercial, and industrial growth is expected, or where the municipality is better able to serve this area than other municipal areas. The major thoroughfare plan identifies Highway 25 West as an arterial and Sulphur College Road as a collector. I'm going to go ahead and read the descriptions again for the R1 zoning district and then the R2 zoning district. The R1, which is the current zoning of the property, is intended to be utilized in areas where it's due to remoteness, the absence of necessary urban services, or the continuation of farming or agricultural activities. Development of a suburban density is undesirable or unfeasible. These districts are therefore designed to provide suitable areas for low-density residential development characterized by an open appearance. And then I'm going to go ahead and skip the rest of that since we just heard it with the last one, and let's go to the R2. The R2 zoning district is intended to provide areas which are suitable for single and multiple family residential development. This district is particularly suitable for areas adjacent or near urban services where an adequate public water supply or public wastewater service is available. Uses permitted in the R2 zoning district include detached single-family dwellings, duplex dwellings, multifamily and apartment dwellings, rooming and boarding houses, and essential services. The following additional uses might be allowed by special exception if requirements are met and the Board of Zoning Appeals approves special exceptions, including residential mobile home parks, administrative services, community assembly, community education, cultural and recreational services, healthcare facilities, immediate impact facilities, personal and group care facilities, and religious facilities. Section 5.043F provides the bulk zoning standards for the R2 zoning district. I will just go ahead and detail what the potential development of this lot could be based on those bulk zoning requirements. And note that not normally is a lot ever actually developed to its full potential. Where public water and sewer are available, the R2 zoning district requires 15,000 square foot per lot. If developed as single lots, this property could support around 39 lots within 13 acres. Where public water and sewer services available, the R2 zoning district requires 30,000 square foot for 4 dwelling units and then 5,000 additional square foot for each dwelling unit over 4 in a multifamily development. The maximum dwelling unit density permitted under the R2 zoning district for this parcel would be 116 multi-dwelling units. In staff's rendering of the rezoning request, the property is not constrained by floodplain or steep slopes, and the Water and Sewer Department has indicated utilities are in place to serve this development. The major thoroughfare plan identifies the roads adjacent to the parcel as arterial and collector, and the only zoning district for zoning district description which indicates it should be along physical thoroughfares in Trousdale County is the C1 General Commercial Zoning District. There is, however, other parcels zoned R2 residential along Highway 25 West in this area. Staff would be concerned about the development of potential residential ways on collector roads. However, this could be further reviewed during the site planning or subdivision phase of this property was developed.
Did you say that last part again? The staff concern.
Yeah, staff would be concerned about potential residential ways being developed on collector roads. However, this could be further reviewed during the site planning or subdivision stage of the property were to develop. Essentially saying that collector roads don't necessarily want driveway, but that can also be reviewed at a site planning or subdivision stage in the future. The property is near other R2 residential zoning. It's adjacent to the Hartsville Urban Services District and is around 2 miles from the downtown area. The land use plan indicates that areas within the growth boundary for the services district are more high density growth.
And in the agricultural, outside of the urban services district, we do not have an R3 available to us. R2 is as dense as it gets, right? Unless you're in the city.
Yes.
Is that right, Mr.? So R2 also includes apartments, where R2 in the city does not include apartments. It's just duplex. Yes, sir.
I would like to point out that sewer is not on this property. Sewer is approximately 500 feet to the east of this property, on another property. It would require a pumping station to provide sewer for this tract. It is doable, and I know that's been discussed, I think, with the applicant, but I think I heard you say that the water department said that sewer is at the property or on the property or served to the property. It can be, but it is not present served.
For the building officials report, water and sewer said that they can serve this property. Is that right, Sam?
You can serve the property based off of the water department discussion and contingent builders discussion. There is an agreement with the water department and contingent builder to do sewer for all of these lots. The water department has done their evaluation of their sewer line and has determined that the sewer line will support as many lots as they need put in this location. So the sewer line is it's close enough for them to use, and the water department didn't have an agreement to use it.
The existing line is adequate, and but I'm just saying, it's up here, here's the track you're looking at, it is not served, that track is not served by that presently. It can be, but it would be at their expense to put that in to that point, and it's not just laying a line, it's laying at a pumping station that's adequate to handle whatever their flow is. So just bear that in mind. You are approving this based on it having sewer when it does not. It can have, and the property across the street is R2, it's not on sewer. I'm not saying don't do it for that, I just want it to be known that it's not at this property or on this property. It is on across.
The advantage.
It is an
Advantage to the property owner to have that sewer, if they, because without the sewer, they're not gonna get the density that you're talking about. True?
Possibly, probably not, depending on how it works and where they can put septic fields. They certainly can't do any multi-residential without it being on sewer.
Right.
You guys understand all that
Yes, sir.
part, that all
We
part?
was in a discussion with Mr. Department probably 3 or 4 months ago.
Right. So, without sewer, we're gonna be limited to just septic systems, and for R2, for that kind of density, probably would be.
If you're familiar with the property, it is due west of Sulphur College Road. Been owned by Jerry Ham for a lot of time, right across from Mr. Carmen's home. Where the sewer line is where our sign, "Welcome to Hartsville," is on the other side of the landfill building, at that corner right there. So they gotta come not only on their property, they've gotta go under a road, and they've gotta go all the way up across the front, which there is right way bit that allows to be done. But it's a lot of engineering and a lot of cost to them to be able to put the sewer in. But that, I just wanted to know that it's not there, because I don't want somebody to say, we approved it with sewer there when sewer's not. Sewer is available. It's much like these things that we have. Water's available. Yes, it's available if you want to go 2 miles down the road and hook up to it. Okay?
Yeah, and I think that's, of course, the auspice will be on you guys to be able to bring sewer to that property. Otherwise, the R2 designation is of much benefit to you. Would you agree with that?
Correct, yeah.
I
And
know
I will
this will
say, I
be-
did note that with the sewer and water available, this could support 39 lots or 116 multi-dwelling units, but those are calculations based on sewer being available. I didn't do, or not having sewer being available, but I could do that quickly if the board was interested in that.
What about this exactly? Is that between that house and, that one?
Between Dr. Kelly's property and Sulphur College Road.
It's right there on 25, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah,
corner
it's right.
of the
You got your map.
Come right under Sulphur College,
There's a-
right up
there's a-
old HB's old place.
Oh, okay,
It's been
It can be
vacant
done.
there forever.
yeah.
It just, I don't want this to be an issue when it gets to the county commission, that it wasn't pointed out that, you know, when you're saying the water department says there's adequate sewer too, it's not. I mean, it can be, but it's
It's
not.
not in place right now where
Right.
they can just hook up with it.
That's all I was trying to point out.
Could we make a motion contingent on sewer being taken to the property, so it's either you're either doing it or.
There's really no reason to, because applicants aware of it. It's just like any other development that goes in. Applicants been in conversations with the planner, and they're aware of all the things and stuff. And bottom line is, if they don't get on sewer, they can't. It's not going to be much of an investment for them. They can't meet the density for what they want to do anyway.
And there is R2, as Mr. Jewell said, right across the road, there's not no sewer. So, you know, it's possible, but it's a limit.
A lot of people want to go to R2, not for multi-res, but because of smaller lot size requirements. It's a higher density, which normally you're going to have on
Some kind of
sewer,
sanitary.
but you don't necessarily have to have it.
Okay, any other
I'm sure they
questions
understand
concerning
if-
this?
If this thing goes on, and if they want to put some of those, that high density stuff that she explained, you bring the site plan back here, we can pass it. It won't flow, because it's not.
My bigger concern, if you're going to divide it into lots, that the driveway connections are going to be problematic because of the hill and the intersection and all those things. But that can be addressed by either an access road and one coming out or any number of ways.
Right, that was the last
But
thing.
that would be specific to the site plan approval.
Is that a T-Dot issue anyway, since it's on a state highway?
Yes.
We have a sketch if y'all would like to see.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The question is the zoning, the rezoning of it, if they don't get it on sewer, it's not gonna benefit them very much, so. It's all dependent on that rezoning and getting it on sewer.
Right, yeah, that's, I don't know if you could hear that whole discussion, but that was part of the discussion, was that, the rezoning is not contingent upon the sewer, but the performance of the property.
Get no better.
So, okay. Any other questions for Mr. Perry? Mr. Perry, any idea, have you got a plan as to how big this development's gonna be, or?
Mr. Carmen had recommended 24 lots, and we've actually pulled back to 23, because it's coming across that branch. And the corner of the field by Social College, an entrance and an exit, that way we have two ways in and out. So 23 is what.
Mr. Carmen, it's always good to get Mr. Carmen here when it gets a little bit closer to things, too, so that you can. I'm not gonna go there. No. Okay. Any other questions in this evening for Mr. Perry?
What kind of road you all proposing, this collector road? This collector road, what kind are you proposing for that?
We like to use an open drive.
They got it.
They got close.
Cul-de-sac.
Cul-de-sac? Yes?
There's no cul-de-sac.
Yeah, so he's just saying this would all be subdivision approval or site plan review.
Right, I think it's just part of the discussion here, though, this evening.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
it
let
will
it
say-
go, though.
No, just a shared drive.
Mr. Chairman,
I would note
make a
that,
motion to approve.
Okay?
I'll second.
We have a motion by
Thank you.
Mr. Kerr and a second by Mr. Thomas, that we send this on to the county commission with a favorable recommendation to change the zone designation from its current R1 to R2. Any other discussion? We have a motion. Sorry?
who made the motion and second, since it's
I make the motion. David, second.
Yeah.
Is he taking minutes?
Are you taking minutes, Tim?
Oh, he could have this job.
I got you. It'll be in our minutes. Anyway, okay, we have a motion, a second, no other discussion. All then in favor of sending this to the county commission with a favorable recommendation to change from R1 to R2. Say aye. Opposed? Okay, Sumner Granite. Is there someone here for Sumner Granite? Sumner Granite, they
I'd like to explain the situation if you can relay it for me.
okay, go ahead.
So, the previous owner, when they there's 3 lots up there on 231. The previous owner took that 3 lots, and after they had it zoned down the middle on this 4 lots as commercial, they took all 3 lots and rezoned it into 2 lots. Well, the zoning doesn't flow when you rezone it. When you resurvey your lots, it doesn't travel with that new survey. So basically what we've got right now is we have a zone going straight down the middle of 2 different lots. Now the owner, Mr. Tibbs, owns both of those lots. It's got both the commercial buildings along both the lots, the way they resurveyed this. The issue is, and the reason why I'm bringing it up right now is the zoning that was done years ago actually splits the buildings in half, the way it goes down the property. And the way they put these into 2 lots instead of 3 lots, now it's all spread out. So
Right, who did that though, Sam? Who changed it from 3 lots to 2 lots?
anybody, an owner to change that.
Well, I'm asking who did change it?
Let's see, I did before Terry.
Because that wasn't done through us. We certainly wouldn't have approved that with a line going to a building, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, so because of the size of the parcel, if the subdivision is over 5 acres, you would never see
Okay,
that subdivision.
but those 3 lots cover more than,
So altogether, it's 15 acres, so.
each one of them's
Each
5.
one of them's 5 at the time.
Okay,
They just didn't center.
I might be able to shed some light on
all right.
it. We've looked at this before.
Hang on just a second, Sam. Go ahead, Barry.
We believe what happened was when it was rezoned to commercial, the ordinance only called out the 1 lot and didn't reference the other 2 lots, although it was approved at the time for the whole tract of land. So when the mapping picked it up, they picked it up just with 1 parcel. It has been used as commercial. Basically, this is to correct your maps.
If you all look at the last page of the packet that you have, you can see what we're talking about. There's a strip down the middle that shows the commercial zoning, and then I know that it printed in gray, so it's probably a little bit difficult to see, but you can see the parcel line is through the middle of that. So it's that light gray area outlined in the middle, and then that dark gray is where the C1 zoning is currently, and then you can see that it just goes right down the middle of those 2 parcels that are split that way.
This is just another effort for me to fix the maps. You don't bring a lot in front of y'all like me on trying to fix the maps, and this is one of those cases that it should have been fixed or noticed, or it got looked over. We need to fix it now.
House.
Okay,
Because they're not looking to change the zoning, they're just wanting to fix what's already there.
It's a matter of correcting the maps for the use that's already there. It's pretty improvement.
but this will have to go to the.
It will. To be corrected.
It'll run through the system just like a rezone.
Yes, it will.
It is a-
But I'm sure when I explain it to the commission of what applies, it won't be an issue.
Okay,
There's more changes, or whatever we got to do.
motion by Mr. Melner.
Do something.
That,
I was like, how does that happen?
that the entire parcel be made C1, is that really what you're looking to do? A motion by Mr. Melner, do we have a second to that?
It's 2 parcels.
It's 2 now, it was 3. I
Parcels.
mean, when, in the information that was sent out, the packet was sent out, they're still showing 3.
Bethpage.
So that's not.
That's
It's
a
hard
little bit of
to
confusion,
tell
is
because
that?
it's a gray area, but yeah, so
Yeah,
you
that's not
can
showing
see.
three.
No, so that's actually two. This outline didn't show up too well. Here, I can pull it up on my computer screen.
Oh, well, that's all right. I agree with that.
Trust me.
But it, I mean, it's still looking like three on that, right?
But yeah,
So you got a
yeah,
divide
that
there.
wave divide line, because it's in gray, it's hard to see. I tried to put it in lime green, but then
I think you guys.
didn't print the package.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any other discussion then on the request to send this on to the county commission with a favorable recommendation that they make all, or both, I should say, of the lots commercial?
So I do have one question before we vote on this. This being C1, I believe there was some discussion when we were going to move the property on 25, just outside of, say it to C2 to C1. We couldn't do C1 because it wasn't inside the urban, the downtown.
This is out in the county. This one we're down.
That's not in the urban services.
Just want to make sure we have the
C1 is a general commercial, district.
Two commercial districts in urban services, C1, C2, downtown is C1. Out in the county, there's only one commercial district, and that's C1.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second by Mr. Smith. Any other discussion on this request? If not, then all in favor of sending this on with a favorable recommendation to go to its commercial for the whole property, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Clear as mud, right?
Going through the process.
I know, yeah, that should fix it.
It's not for them.
Okay, very good. Moving right along here, we also have been brought to our attention the consideration of applying for a multimodal access grant for a sidewalk project that would run from Main Street up to McMurray Boulevard. And I'll turn it over to the mayor at this point in time and have him kind of explain to us what's going on here.
Well, about every year, the state opens up what they call multimodal access grant. That's for sidewalks, bicycle paths, and whatnot. It can be anywhere within a quarter of a mile of the state highway. However, if you're doing a project off the highway, it doesn't score as well as if you're doing one along the highway. When they did the study out here, before they did the streetscape, they had a connectivity plan that was proposed, and extending sidewalks from the end of the streetscape project up to McMurray Boulevard was one of the proposed sidewalk improvements going forward. I don't know if you've driven past there, especially since I've been in office, I've paid more attention. I've actually seen more foot traffic going up and down through there, people carrying bags from grocery bags and whatnot. And I've also noticed there's a gentleman who's on a power wheelchair that he has to stop right off the edge of the driveway going into the administration building and let traffic go by because there's not enough room for him to get down through there. So I talked to the RPO coordinator, and looking at all the sidewalks, this one is completely along the highway. He thinks it'll score really well. The only thing that might hold us back is we don't have any engineering currently on this to go forward on. This is part of the connectivity plan. And I was trying to move forward with the plan to do some of these developments, and going through it, looking at it, well, this is planning, so I wanted to bring it to the planning commission. Right now, it's just notice of intent phase. We're not required to do any ordinances or anything in support of that right now, but I wanted to bring it to the commission at the very beginning of the process, let you know what's going on. And while I talked to the RPO, if there's anything, I propose that it be this project going from the end of the streetscape here up to the McMurray intersection. So I would just, like I said, want to bring that to your attention, let you know about it, and hopefully as we go forward, get support when we get into the application phase. But right now, we're just noticing intent. It's very short and brief. I've actually got it all filled out. We'll work with the RPO and hopefully GNRC to get a map we have to produce, get that together, and have it submitted by July 31st, which is the deadline. So, I think if you all didn't get this, I think I sent it to everybody with a notation of the page. If you didn't get it, let me know, and I'll make sure you get a copy of it. And I'll be willing to answer any questions at this time.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
Will there be a sidewalk on both sides of the street or just one?
They proposed both sides of the street. I am concerned as you cross over White Oak Street and start going up the hill, especially if you're going towards McMurray from downtown, where everybody parks there and they got tight parking on that left side. I'm concerned about doing a sidewalk there because I don't know where those people are going to park if you put a sidewalk there. But
Somewhere else.
that would be, as you get into the engineering phase.
In their backyard. No, I looked at that, you're right, but I mean, that may help solve parking issues that we live here.
And then give people a more direct access, a safer access to not only the administration building, but restaurants and banking and grocery
I
stores.
think it's a very dangerous thoroughfare for people to be walking.
There is more foot traffic.
It has really picked up, I've noticed probably the last 7, 8 months, it's really picked up the amount of people walking through there. And I've had residents who live down in this residential area asking about trying to get sidewalks so they'll make it safer than through there.
Yes, sir.
If you put a sidewalk on McMurray, what about at that traffic light? Put a, you know, the residential light, just push a button and be able to check it across the street.
Well, right now, it wouldn't cross over Highway 25, it would just go up to that intersection, it wouldn't actually cross over. And that intersection is supposed to be let out in the fall of next year to do an improvement there, to widen it out, to put turning lanes in through there, so. Right now, I don't even know where you would put those sidewalks till you get that done, so. And that project's supposed to be 18 to 24 months, so if you, at least if you bid it out fall of 2021, you're probably not looking at completion of that till sometime in 2023.
But what I'm getting the point is, at the traffic light, if you got people going across the street, now you need to push the button, if they want to go across the street, they push the button for the light to change, so that they can go toward the Shell station or McDonald's.
And I would say that once you get closer to completion of the expansion of that intersection, that'd be the time to submit a project for that. Right now, I'm trying to get them up to that intersection where Citizen Bank and everything is.
With both of those being state highways, TDOT's gonna have a big say in all that anyway.
Right. Most people going up through there right now are going to the grocery store, so I don't see them going up to that intersection. Most of them are going to Dollar General or Foodland or maybe even Subway.
On this grant, how much is it? Usually they're a matching of some sort.
It's a 95-5, so 95% paid by the state, 5% paid by the county. But it is a reimbursement. We have to spend it up front and get it back, but they will pay 95% of it. Now, just if we get through the notice of intent phase, which you have to be accepted to go on to the application phase, so even if we are accepted after the notice of the intent to apply, it doesn't guarantee we're going to be funded through it. It's just to move on to the next round. It's kind of weed out those projects that are nowhere near ready to go. And that's where I'm concerned about not having the engineering done. But one of the things that is going to help us is we did use the state's money to come up with a connectivity plan. And now we're trying to move forward with that plan. So that's actually, our PO coordinator says that's really going to help us score well also, because we are going with a plan that we actually use their funds to come up with. So, like I said, I think the only thing that would hurt us would be there's no engineering currently done on that project.
My understanding, talking with the previous mayor, he was doing the sidewalk project. The reason that they didn't do sidewalks up was because it is a state highway, and TDOT had specific engineering and specific things, and it was going to cost quite a bit more money than any of the other sidewalk projects. So if we were able to get this grant, that would be huge, and actually kind of connecting the square kind of the middle of Hartsville there, the sidewalks. I have seen several joggers and whatnot coming down that hill, even for the football players who sometimes will do that big square jog. It's
Well, the whole goal of the connectivity plan is it also has greenways and blueways and whatnot. The whole goal of it is to make it so that people can move around not only the downtown area but out towards the highway where the shopping centers and everything are, without having to be so close to the traffic. And so this would just be trying to move in that direction, as you said, trying to get more of that. We may able, if you look into it, it may be worthwhile actually having a bicycle lane down this in addition to the sidewalk. So at this point, like I said, it's just trying to carry through with the plans. And as I'm trying to get the planning commission more involved in these kind of things going forward, that's what I'm looking to do, redo the growth plan, which was done 20 years ago, and now try to redo the growth plan, and then try to come, carry forward with some of these improvement projects.
actually put planning in the planning commission.
Yes, sir. Like I said, these greenways, I'd like to try to look some some kind of opportunities here. I do have somebody contact me about a potential opportunity, but COVID hit and I haven't been able to follow up with them to expand some greenways and try to connect it to the downtown and the park area and really develop the park with the plan we had, the master park, improvement plan for the park, and really see about working with the Corps and trying to do like a kayak or canoe and launch area over here in that back far corner. That's the only place where you actually have consistently deep enough channel to do kayaking and try to make that not only recreational for the people who live here, but also kind of a tourism draw. So it's really just trying to take advantage of the plans that we've worked on and have paid for already and try to put those into action.
Do you need any action from us this evening on this?
I don't believe so. The notice of intent doesn't require any kind of supporting resolution or ordinance or anything like that. Like I said, we're at the very beginning of the process, and I want to go ahead and look to the planning commission and let you know what's going on instead of getting down the road and then springing on me and want to know, well, how did we decide this? Well, I want to bring it to the planning commission and let you know why I think this is the better project this to be.
It would be more of a support resolution that you would support the concept. Mary, I'm sure you can explain it, but that's all it would be. You're supporting the concept of this and proceeding forward.
Yeah, and we've done that in the past.
Yeah, and I think that would be, when we get to the application phase, that's probably would be some of those supporting resolutions or ordinances or something like that. But right now, the notice of intent, I can work with RPO and GNRC and we can file that. And then if we make it through that phase, we're going to the application phase, that's where I'll need some of these support.
We need to put that in the minutes now. I think Mr. Kerr right in order.
It's already in there.
It's already typed. That's
Wait,
what
like,
Mr.
wait,
Curry.
like you see what's in the minutes, I put that you.
That's all.
Well,
Yes, sir.
it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt. It's in the habits. But, you know. The thing is, when they score these things, they have a checklist. Planning on board, is county commission on board, is chamber on board, that sort of thing. So that's what you're trying to accomplish with it.
And I think that's what we've done in the past, is just to show our support for the business.
Yeah,
You have a
and
question, sir?
Let me ask you this. You put the sidewalk in and people walk up on it. What about the ADA? Would they be a part of that because of the wheelchair?
You cannot build a sidewalk without doing an ADA compliant, at least you should. And since this is going through the state, they have very, very strict ADA guidelines. That's why you have these things that stick out on the streetscape to meet the ramp requirements through the ADA. So if this goes through the state, whether it goes through the state right now, if we're going to design a project lineman here, we're going to do it ADA compliant. Just like we're trying to make everything to be ADA compliant.
Anything with any federal money has.
So it'll be specifically engineered to be ADA compliant.
So you got to
What's that?
I'm sorry, I can't recall what it was. He was mentioning the checklist of items, and that definitely comes in on the application page, but as the mayor mentioned, the notice of intent is really just weeding out for, are these projects actually, feasible potentially, and then on the application stage, that's when it's starting to get into, yes, needing the checklist of is the planning commission supportive of this, are you meeting all these needs requirements for that?
And I'm guessing the state has enough right of way going up Broadway to do the sidewalk.
They should have more than enough right of way currently. Looking at the GIS system, there should be more than enough. And there's actually an existing sidewalk through over half of it. It's just,
They got it.
but there should be more, especially as you get, if you notice, if you go up the hill on Broadway, as you pass up Live Oak, there is some shoulder there. As you get towards the end, that's when it narrows up. I think it's still in the right of way. I can't remember, is it 10, 15 feet on either side that the state has a right of way? So I think there should be more than enough right of way there to do it, is my estimate right now.
Any other questions for the mayor concerning this? All right. Is there any other new business that needs to come forward?
Me,
What's that?
me,
It was withdrawn.
oh, it was withdrawn.
Yeah.
Sorry. Didn't know that.
That was the one that's the property that,
Yeah.
the C1 to C2 or C2 to C1. Mr. Jewell?
I would like to address that. I want you to know why we turned it down, and that we were trying to go against the wishes of the planning commission in any way. C1 in your urban services is a district that's specifically designed for your downtown, where we're sitting. And you were talking about moving it miles 3/4 out the highway to one tract of land. Just did not seem to fit with that. Now, we have in time past enlarged the C1, took some C2 up by the depot and added it into it, but it was contiguous with it and adjoined it. So I was, when it first came to me at the county commission, we were going over the work session, I honestly thought it was a mistake. I thought, I said they must have meant it going to A1 or R1. Surely they didn't mean for it to go to C1. And Mr. Nolan assured me that, yep, that's what they want to do, and Amy assured me that that's what they want to do, and I said, it ain't gonna happen. And that's when I contacted you, contacted Mary, and we kind of revisited it again. Now, if she wants to speak to it, fine, but that was my reasoning, is you can't single out a lot a mile and 3/4 from the downtown and say it's part of the downtown. So that's why it got turned down. I just wanted to explain that to everybody in case there was any
Well,
questions.
actually, that discussion came up during that, there was a question that was asked. And I don't know if there was a communication error or whatever, but we were looking at it as well, I'll let you speak. We were the ones that spoke about the thoroughfares. And I think that was really the reason that you looked at that as a possibility, right? Because it's on a thoroughfare.
As we discussed, and as I discussed with Mr. Jewell, I think, in saying that I wasn't opposed to it, it may have been a recommendation in case in reviewing further into the growth plan. Specifically, the growth plan only calls out referring to the zoning district descriptions as generally the guiding calling on whether something should have a zoning or not. There's not too much other guidance in saying, where something should be and where it shouldn't. So what's in the zoning district descriptions, and we discussed during the meeting, the zoning district description calls out the downtown area and then calls out it should be on arterial or collector. This particular road is an arterial, so I had reviewed that and paid less attention on the downtown area and interpreting that as generally the service area of the urban growth boundary in Hartsville. So that was a recommendation, less of a recommendation, more of a no recommendation on my part. That was made in error. And I think Sam and I have talked a little bit more on this as well. And we'll do a better job on the front end of looking at the requests as they come in and making sure that applicants have a zoning district if they're looking to rezone that's suited to what they want to do and suited more to the area to some extent. Obviously, there will be rezonings that will be denied that come up, but hopefully we can look at some of these closer on the front end in the future.
My biggest concern is over the years, we've had a really good relationship between the county commission and the planning commission. Up until recently, we have had full cooperation, I'll say, from the county commission as what comes from planning. We've seen that erode a bit in the last year or two. There's been some that you recommended that they went the other way and vice versa. And I'd like to get us back where we have confidence, the commission has confidence with what's coming from this body so that we don't question it as much. And that's my biggest fear, that's my biggest concern. And I don't know how to phrase it any better.
No, I think that's valid. And I think if you look at the body of work, over the last 20 or 25 years, the planning commission has actually been above reproach with their decision making and with their recommendations. And this was just kind of one that fell through the cracks, to be quite honest with you. As you said, you didn't really, you weren't making it as a full-blown recommendation, but you didn't come out against it. As Mr. Jewell said, what was the word you used, Mr. Jewell, perhaps I should be more demonstrative from the chair. And I'm actually trying to be less demonstrative from the chair, if you want to know the truth. Because I try not to inject my will in other people. And I saw it, and I asked that question that night. But I didn't make a fight out of it. And I think that if we get the commitment from the building inspector's office and GNRC that we're all on the same page, we want to come to the county commission with accurate information, and we have for so long. I mean, this is a hiccup, really, but it's one that's caught our attention. It shows how easily it can happen. You know, I mean, if you read through the resolution, if you just stop after the first sentence, really, looking at it objectively, you can stop and say, you know, if that doesn't fit Mr. I forgot what his name was, but you know, and sometimes we can get wrapped up a little bit in trying to accommodate someone.
I was about to say that, we don't want to go back to the days of how can I help?
Yeah, how can I help you? That's right. And, you know, this guy bought this piece of property, all of a sudden he can sell the piece of property, so he's looking at different ways that he can market it. But really, that's more, comes under the auspices of his issues than of our issues. And so, I think we need to be careful of that, you know,
Well, I want everybody to know, I wasn't angry about it, I was flabbergasted. I was kind of taken aback that it was even being recommended. And I know I come across angry sometimes, but I wasn't. And,
no, you're fine.
but I purposely tried to stay away from the planning commission meeting. I didn't want Sam to think I was looking over his shoulder, second guessing him, trying to interfere with him, taking over those responsibilities and doing that job. He is working very hard and trying to do it and do it correctly. There's no doubt in my mind of that. But I assure you, now I'm chairman of the DZA, I will have to have more interactions than I haven't had times past. And I will be here, and if you want to recognize me, I'll speak. If you don't, just overlook me.
I need to go, hey, still,
For the minutes. So anyway, no harm, no foul, you know, but we do need to be as diligent and you know, it's your guys' name on it. It's the planning commission. It's not the building inspector's name on it. It's Turner's name on it, really. It's the planning commissioner's name on it. So, you know, it's up to us to, if you don't think it's right, or if you don't think it's right, then you need to stand up. Let us know. And that would just kind of slip through.
I'm just glad we called it right on the deal.
Very good. Anything else, Mary? Yes?
I've got new copies that are going to be made. I don't want to project the time on them yet, but I've got new copies of the zoning ordinance resolutions that I'm going to be passing out to the BCA, planning commission, so everybody will get a new copy.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, we have some folks who would like to have a new copy of that. So.
some of the first time.
Yeah, we're
We got some new people.
good deal. Okay. Anything else need to come before the planning commission this evening?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mahler has a motion to adjourn. Good night. Thank you, folks. Appreciate your attendance. And it's very, very well done this evening. Very well done.